Today was the first day that the Hurricanes were in full pads. It was their 7th overall of fall practice. Look, the players kind of said, like especially the offense and defensive line, that they're used to having contact in every practice, especially when they're in shoulder pads. But today just was a little bit more because they are in the full pads. So that was good to see. It was good to see the players going through that. Coach Cristobal spoke after practice. He was happy with what he saw, what he's been seeing in fall camp. And look, I think a big thing is coming up for Miami in a few days here. So they're going to practice the next 2 days. We're not going to have availability after practice or at practice. However, on Saturday, they're going to have an open scrimmage to the public at Hard Rock Stadium. So definitely check that out. It's going to be their first scrimmage of the fall. And with that, I think a lot is going to be made of how things and how guys perform in that. You know, Cristobal said, like, this is something that he likes to do. They weren't able to do it at Miami last year, but it's something that he likes to do. And I think he thinks it's going to be good for his team to essentially show what they have in front of the fans. And I asked Cam Kitchens, because I'm always interested, particularly with the leaders, what are you hoping to get out of it, you know, from your side of the ball? And he said, simply put, with the defense, he wants to see if they're going to be able to stop the run. And he said basically every day they know if they can stop the pass, whether it's, you know, they do one-on-ones, they do other drills, the half field, the 3-on-3 type stuff, 7-ons, and things like that. So there's ways to find out about how they defend the pass. But he said, you know, on Saturday, they're hoping that they can defend the run. And I feel like that is going to be a big part. I agree with them in the sense because Coach Guidry mentioned that the other day that they gave up some long runs. So I think Saturday is going to be a good test for them to be able to stop the run. So they're going to look to do that. And I think that'll be a big thing. Not just the big runs, make sure fits are there. I think you're going to be paying attention to linebacker Francisco Mauinoa, you know, the impact that he's going to make there, number 51, the transfer from Washington State. So definitely pay attention to him. But, you know, making sure that they don't allow big runs. And also, hopefully we'll be able to find out, you know, yards per carry. I think that'll be a big. They want to hold that number down, certainly. And I think not only for a scrimmage, but with where they were last year in run defense, I think it'll be an important step for this defense as they look to move forward from a year ago. And flipping it to the offensive side of the ball, but let's stay with running backs. You know, I haven't seen Chris Johnson, freshman speedster there. I haven't seen him the last few days since we've been out there. And Coach Cristobal did say that he was doing okay early, but he's a bit banged up. So didn't see him out there. Take it for what it's worth. That's all I know at this moment. So he might not be out there for the scrimmage, if we're looking forward to seeing a freshman there. One freshman that is expected to be out there, and to me is going to be a player to watch for at Hard Rock, is wide receiver Nathaniel Joseph. And today I thought was a big day with what I saw during the open, you know, the drills that we're able to see during the viewing period. It's because he was running with the ones, and not necessarily just that. Xavier Restrepo was alongside him, and if you've been following along, you know, Joseph essentially has been in the slot on other spots on the second and third unit in the slot, but this time he was on the outside, Restrepo on the inside, so maybe that's going to be something to see. You know, I just think with Joseph, anywhere you put him, I think he's going to find a way to be successful. I think he can handle the responsibilities of being outside, even though that's typically, you know, spots for the bigger receivers, whether it's because of blocking on the edge or even, you know, just their versatility with the different routes that they can run. But I think Joseph will be able to handle that because he does have the speed and quickness to get off the line, get downfield and make plays. And I was watching a drill, and offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson was really kind of honing in on the details on a comeback route. Basically telling the receivers exactly what depth he wanted the comeback route to be, you know, when they're running the route, and also, you know, attacking the ball when the ball is thrown. So coming back for it, and I thought Joseph, immediately after Dawson gave those instructions, I thought he had a good rep. You know, he looked good on that, doing what Dawson wanted. And if you've heard any of the players, even guys like Restrepo, who's essentially competing with Joseph, they've all recognized his work ethic. Coach Cristobal raved about his work ethic, talked about the Moneyball Challenge. Tyler Van Dyke is what they called it. You know, if you followed along, I've noted Joseph in his work in the offseason, catching the passes in the jugs machine each and every week. Over 2,000, you know, is what he ended up doing some weeks, but he had the most. And, you know, and Tyler, he was certainly aware of that. And Tyler even said early on with this challenge in the summer that he actually did it for a week to see how many he could do and kind of motivate the receivers. And he said he did 1,500. And just knowing the numbers that Joseph was putting up when I was talking to him, you know, it was certainly interesting to hear Tyler. I thought when he was telling us this, I thought maybe, you know, 100, a couple hundred, you know, just to do it. But 1,500 is a lot. That's a lot of work to put in, especially for a quarterback. So good to see some of that hard work is essentially paying off into fall camp so far. when I was in the indoor practice facility today, I was looking up at the banners, and again, it's just cool seeing Kitchens' name and number up there in the rafters because he was an All-American last year. And then it just kind of dawned on me that it's the 24. That's what he was wearing the last year when he had that big season. And obviously he switched his number to number 5. So I asked him afterwards, and Cam's a guy, I remember early on in his career, he really said that he had high goals. He wanted to be one of the best or the best defensive back in the country. And this was not a guy that was highly rated to essentially be such. I just thought he had high goals when he got here. And when I asked him, I asked him about essentially extra motivation to get the Kitchens 5 essentially up there in the banners, and he said absolutely. It's exactly what he's thinking right now. He likes, that's what he had, that's what he was given when he got here. He wore 5 his last two years at Northwestern. I saw him wearing the 42 at Northwestern as a young player. So he's got the motivation to have a big season, and certainly looking to kind of build on with what he did last year. And I think even he knows the consistency of his performances could be improved, but it's about getting those wins and really helping the team impact wins. And he's in this leadership role where maybe he can have more of an impact, not just being a good at safety, but just kind of trickling down with his leadership abilities. So lastly, as we wrap it up, I'm looking right now, it's cloudy, I'm starting to feel little sprinkles. I don't want to get stuck in a downpour, but it's extremely dark in front of me here. I do want to mention, Coach Cristobal's talked about Hard Rock. He wants to create an environment there, and I asked him if there's been a point of emphasis with essentially having a better home record from what they did a year ago. I think I talked about it here. 2-5 a year ago, lost all 4 conference games. That's not what Cristobal did at Oregon, and he reminded people that's not what he's done at other stops. I remember this record. He actually had a good home record when he was at FIU, relatively speaking, and certainly they want to be much better at home, and they've got to be much better if they want to kind of compete and kind of stay at the top of the ACC and have big time games. They've got to win their home games. Yes, it's good that they did well on the road, but they've got to win their home games. And I think Saturday's not going to be a game, but it is, you want to have good performances in that stadium and play well, and certainly it'll be the first opportunity for some of these players, a lot of these players, to be in Hard Rock. So that'll be a good start. Then Miami of Ohio, the Redhawks come in on September 1st. I asked, just wrap this up, I asked Tyler Van Dyke about his scouting of teams in the offseason. Just curious what it's been like. Obviously they'll put in their scout work for teams as they get ready for games, but I was just kind of curious about if these, if a guy that studies a lot of his upcoming opponents for the season. And he said, yeah, and he has studied Miami of Ohio stuff, and he will continue to do so. But he did say, look, right now, completely focused on fall camp, which obviously makes sense. That's exactly where his focus should be, and day to day, and then obviously a big performance for the passing game. He's looking to kind of asking the same question he was asked about what he's hoping from the offensive scene in that day, and he said he just wants to see, make the right throws and things like that. To me, I think getting the ball downfield. I think you want to start seeing receivers come down with some plays, make some plays down the field, some contested catches. I think that's, from my standpoint, what you'd like to see from the offense. I know the running game will be, from a defensive standpoint, but I think offensively, look to see if the wide receivers can kind of get some big plays downfield. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, and take care.